Good morning to you from Holy Trinity, Gislam. By the backdrop, you can see I could actually be anywhere, but I thought this morning I'd find a comfy seat where I can keep my unfortunate ankle elevated. Those of you that have been praying for me to get some relief on my ankle, I thank you for that. It's actually a little bit better, but there is arthritis in there, and I'm going to be getting it looked at fairly soon, so I'd appreciate your continuing prayers. This morning I've got what possibly might be a long word, but as you know, I'm not one for long words all at once. So what I thought I'd do is I read you a story this morning, and then I'll elaborate on it tomorrow and get to my real point. So this story is Old Testament, and then I'll be looking at some scriptures tomorrow morning, which will be based around this and making my point, a specific point that I want to make. So I pray that you'll bear with me as I read this. It's a long chapter. It's Numbers chapter 16. And I'll read it this morning. I'll let the Lord lead me, and then I'll comment as I feel led by the Holy Spirit. And as I say, conclude it tomorrow morning. So I just ask that you would bear with me. Rebellion is what this is all about. What is rebellion? We know what rebellion is, don't we, from our childhood? I won't do that. I'm not going to come in. I'm still not tired yet. Kind of things that children say to their parents when they want their own will and their own desire. And this morning in Numbers 16, I want to look at three men. They say there's four in the script, but three of them are sons of Levi. And they seem to be more prominent in the story. So looking at them and the rebellion that they incited amongst the children of Israel. So I'm going to read the story, and let's see how the Lord takes it. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi. Note the Levites were the priestly tribe in Israel. They didn't actually own land or have their particular section of Israel, as it were. God wanted them wholly dedicated to him. And Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Repeleth, the sons of Reuben, took men. Now there's an interesting phrase there. After the description of who these people are, they took men. Already you can see there's something afoot. What does it mean, they took men? They started to gather a group of people around them that would be like-minded to them. This is how rebellions are stirred up, isn't it? And they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. So they didn't go for the small fry. These were people who were prominent, had influence among the people. So these four men, knew what they were doing. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. All these plots, they start up small, don't they? They start off with people murmuring and mumbling, and there's a Yiddish word, kvetching, I think it is. Somebody might correct me if they know Yiddish. To kvetch, to sort of moan and grumble about things. And so these men were gathered together against Moses and Aaron, and said unto them, You take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. See, they make that assumption, don't they? But there's something behind their words. Wherefore then, lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord. There's the first accusation. You are lording it over the people. We're all holy, but you put yourselves above everyone else. Verse 4 goes on, and when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face. Well, Moses, we often say, is the most humble man that ever lived. But what was his reaction? He didn't rise up against them, did he? He fell on his face. He knew something was afoot, but yet his response was godly. Let's go on in verse 5 here. And he spake against Korah and unto all the company, all his company, saying, even tomorrow, the Lord will show who are his and who is holy. See, he was by Korah saying that we are all holy. That was a presumption. Moses knew different. He wanted God to judge between who was holy and who wasn't. And he goes on, and will cause him to come near unto him, even him whom he hath chosen will he cause to come near to him. This was Moses' plan. Take you censers, Korah and all his company, and put fire therein, and put incense in them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom the Lord did choose, he shall be holy. You take too much upon you, you sons of Levi. Moses turning the tables there, you see. Reminds me a little bit of Elijah challenging the prophets of Baal. You know, remember we read that a few weeks ago. And Moses said unto Korah, hear, I pray you, you sons of Levi, seemeth it but a small thing unto you that the God of Israel hath separated you from the congregation of Israel, to bring you near to himself, to do the service of the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister unto them. See, he's reminding them of what he gave to them as Levites. You men are Levites. You've been given something very precious, to stand in the place of God and to do his sacrifices on behalf of the people. Moses is saying here, isn't this enough for you? And he hath brought thee near to him, and all thy brethren, the sons of Levi, with thee. And seek ye the priesthood also? You see, they wanted more. It wasn't enough that they could just be part of the sons of Levi. They had to have the priesthood. They had to have everything. They had to have what Aaron had. For which cause both thou and all thy company are gathered together against the Lord. And what is Aaron, that ye murmur against him? And Moses sent to call Dathan and Abiram and the sons of Eliab, which said, we will not come up. So they called for them, and they rebelled. They said, we're not going to do as you're telling us. We won't come up. Is it a small thing that thou hast brought us up out of the land that floweth with milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness, except thou make thyself altogether a prince over us? You see, the resentment against Moses. Who do you think you are? We know better than you. We've got something that you haven't got. And there's murmuring against the Lord. Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that floweth with milk and honey, or given us an inheritance of fields and vineyards. Wilt thou put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. See, there's the moaning. We haven't been given the fields and vineyards. And Moses was very wroth, very angry, and said unto the Lord, respect not thou their offering. I have not taken one ass from them, neither have I hurt one of them. And Moses said unto Korah, be thou and all thy company before the Lord, thou and they and Aaron tomorrow. And take every man his censer, and put incense in them, and bring ye before the Lord every man his censer, 250 censers, thou also and Aaron, each of you his censer. God was about to show them who was boss. And they took every man his censer, and put fire in them, and laid incense thereon, and stood in the door of the tabernacle of the congregation with Moses and Aaron. And Korah gathered all the congregation against them unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And this is interesting, isn't it? And the glory of the Lord appeared unto all the congregation. God was aware of what was going on. He was watching all this, and he was about to make his appearance. Verse 20. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. This was God's heart, you see. God's holy heart for his people. You holy people, Moses and Aaron, get away from these people. I'm going to destroy them. Well, what was Moses' response again? And they fell upon their faces, Moses and Aaron, and said, O God of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin, and wilt thou be wroth with all the congregation? These were the hearts of true priests, the intercessors, the men that really cared for their people. They didn't want to see everybody destroyed by the sins of one or two men. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the congregation, saying, Get you up from about the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. These were the three, although there was the other one, who was of the tribe of Reuben. The important one, the important three were these ones. These three impostors. This false trinity of men. And keep note of that for tomorrow. And Moses rose up and went unto Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. And he spake unto the congregation, saying, Depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest ye be consumed in all their sins. So they get up from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram on every side. And Dathan and Abiram came out and stood in the door of their tents, and their wives and their sons and their little children. Verse 28 goes on, And Moses said, Hereby ye shall know that the Lord hath sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of mine own mind. This is Moses saying how specific God was, that God gave him the tasks to do. It wasn't for men to judge what Moses was doing. The glory of the Lord had appeared, and he was about to show his witness. If these men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord hath not sent me. And Moses put his life on the line. He puts his reputation on the line. He puts his office on the line to show them who the Lord really is, and that the Lord is in him. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth, here this is something, this isn't symbolic, this is literal. If the earth open her mouth and swallow them up, with all that appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then you shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord. Now, when it says here, all that have appertained unto them, he's saying here their wives, their children, their possessions, everything about them, everything that could possibly be following on from their deaths, their children that would have the same spirit as them. Reminds me again of another scripture there in Elijah, where those children mocked Elijah and said, "Go up, thy bald head," and he turned round, and all those children ended up dead, eaten by wolves, because they provoked the son they provoked the prophet of the Lord. This is a fearful thing, to rebel against God. Verse 31. And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking of all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them. So it happened. They provoked the Lord, and God had acted. Oh, we say, what kind of God is that, to swallow up all the little children, to do all that? Why didn't he save the children? Well, they were innocent, were they? We know how parents influence children. We know how children can influence each other to evil. We saw that in this country some years ago, just a little digression, and 2 boys that murdered another little boy, 2 10-year-old boys that took a little 3-year-old boy. I can't remember the name offhand now. Bulger, that was it, James Bulger. And these other 2 boys, they enticed this child away in a supermarket mall, and they took him to a railway line where they threw bricks and stones at him, and they killed him and left him lying beside the railway line. Totally and utterly evil, an act that you couldn't imagine adults doing, let alone children. So God knows. God knows the hearts of everyone, be they a child or be they an adult. So the ground gave way underneath them, like a sinkhole. And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up. And their houses, listen to this, and their houses and all the men that appertained unto Korah and all their goods. Everybody that was attached to these rebellious men, everything they possessed, everything they owned, everything that could take them into the future was destroyed. It's as if they never existed. They and all that appertained to them went down alive. They weren't even killed beforehand. They went down alive into this pit. Them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed up upon them. This was to really seal their fate. There was no way of scrambling out or clambering out. Can you imagine the darkness of that pit? And they're falling, with all their possessions falling on top of them. And they perished from among the congregation. And all Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them. Can you imagine this, the fear of God, the judgment of God that fell on these men? Everybody saw that judgment and they fled. And they fled at the cry of them, and for they said, lest the earth swallow us up also. You see, even though they weren't included in the judgment, there was always that fear. So they started running. And there came out a fire from the Lord. Let's not rush over those words. There came out a fire from the Lord. Our God is a consuming fire, it says in Hebrews. Yes, he's a loving God. I'm always speaking of a loving God, and people always say, oh, I'm so encouraged by your words. Thank you for the encouraging, sweet message. But God is also a consuming fire, and his messages aren't always so sweet. Sometimes it's bitter to the taste because our hearts are hardened and there's rebellion inside us. And God has to deal with that rebellion, that sin. Verse 34, and all Israel were round about them, and all Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them, for they said, let the earth swallow us up also. And there came out a fire from the Lord and consumed the 250 men that offered incense. No one escaped. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest, that he take up the censers out of the burning, and scatter thou the fire yonder, for they are hallowed. The censers of these sinners against their own souls. See, the censers were to be a witness against their own sin. Let them make broad plates for a covering of the altar, for they offered them before the Lord. Therefore they are hallowed. Anything that was offered to God is holy, even the censers that they were holding. And they shall be a sign unto the children of Israel. You see, God wanted to make jolly sure that they would remember what had taken place. So they took the hallowed censers, beat them into plates. And Eleazar the priest took the brazen censers, wherewith they that were burnt had offered. And they made broad plates for a covering of the altar. So every time they saw that altar and they saw those plates, they'd remember what took place. And the sin of rebellion. And remember, the sin of rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Verse 40. To be a memorial unto the children of Israel, that no stranger which is not of the seed of Aaron come near to offer incense before the Lord, that he be not as Korah and as his company, as the Lord had said to him by the hand of Moses. They didn't want any more people like Korah on the scene, offering to a holy God. But on the morrow, all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses, again murmuring, and against Aaron, saying, ye have killed the people of the Lord. Now, what kind of discernment did these people have? That they saw the glory of God, they saw what had happened, and now they're saying that you killed the people of the Lord. When it comes to human beings, there's no way we can excuse ourselves. We only have God to defend us in the end. Because even our best friends, those of us that see the glory of God, those of us that see God working in us, can turn around and say, but you did wrong. We can never trust the word of man, never ever. And it came to pass, when the congregation was gathered against Moses and against Aaron, they looked toward the tabernacle of the congregation, and behold, the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. And Moses and Aaron came before the tabernacle of the congregation, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Get you up from among this congregation, that I may consume them as in a moment. And they fell upon their faces. Again, these people rebelled, and again Moses and Aaron interceded for the people. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a censer, and put fire therein off the altar, and put on incense, and go quickly unto the congregation, and make an atonement for them. For there is wrath gone out from the Lord. The plague is begun. And I'll pick up on that tomorrow as well. The glory of the Lord appeared, but so did the wrath of God. And then the plague came. And Aaron took as Moses commanded and ran into the midst of the congregation. Imagine this. He's running into the middle of the congregation. He's desperate to save them. And behold, the plague was begun among the people. It had already started. God's judgment had already started upon these people for murmuring against what God had done. And he put on the incense. He put on incense and made an atonement for the people. And he stood, this is the intercessor, he stood between the dead and the living. And the plague was stayed. God, as it were, changed his mind. He stayed the plague when he saw the intercessor. Now they that died in the plague were 14,700, besides them that died about the matter of Korah. There was just a few hundred that died about the matter of Korah. But look at the consequences. Another 14,000 people at the hand of 3 rebellious men who caused all this havoc. And Aaron returned unto Moses unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the plague was stayed. The plague was stayed. So, God has his way of judging. And rebellion, what rebellion does to the hearts of men. I'll talk about that tomorrow and share a couple of scriptures and something from the book of Revelation that ties up with what God did today in this particular scripture. So please bear with me, and I'll bring you part 2 tomorrow. And I just pray that your day is blessed. And when I do part 2, I shall recap over this for those that hadn't seen today's message. But I want to string this together, and I don't want to go on too long. So have a blessed day.